Anytime I think about some of the things I had really strong opinions about before becoming a parent, before I actually had my kids, and then how I feel about those things now, or how I did a complete 180 after I actually had kids, I just have to laugh. Having a baby and children in general is just so humbling. And you just don't know what you don't know until you actually have your specific child in your life. So, one of the areas where I did a total about face was around having a consistent sleep schedule. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Allison Egidi, a pediatric sleep and wellness coach and a mom of two. I love to help parents find solutions. This is How Long Till Bedtime. Before my oldest daughter, Addison, was born, we were determined to not lose our freedom to a rigid nap schedule. We took Addison everywhere, and initially she was awesome. She would sleep in the car, the stroller, in her car seat, in a restaurant, in the carrier. Although she didn't love the carrier as much as my second, but she was pretty nimble, and we were out and about. She was in daycare starting at 12 weeks, and I was frankly hoping that the care providers there were going to kind of magically teach her to nap well in the crib, although I wasn't too particular about when she would nap, but I was hoping they might help things improve in that area, which they didn't. And then on the weekends, we didn't provide a lot of daytime structure because we wanted to be out and about doing things. So we were just kind of trying to follow her cues and have her sleep when she would sleep. And if you've been around for a while, you know that her sleep went from being okay in the first couple of months to really bad by the time she hit 4 months. And then it was just a roller coaster. And while we had no consistent nap schedule throughout those early years, frankly, we did diligently try to implement sleep training during the night after she hit about 4 months. Things would start out okay, and then slowly but surely, everything would begin to unravel no matter what sleep training method we implemented. So, I won't go into all the details of what ended up being our nearly 2-year journey of several attempts at sleep training, total sleep deprivation, and me really hitting my rock bottom. But as time went on, we completely lost the ability to confidently make those plans on the weekends that we had dedicated ourselves to. So that freedom that we were clinging on to slowly started to fade away. We had no idea how Addison was going to sleep at night. We had no idea when she would nap. And we had no idea how long each nap would last when they actually did happen. And while she would easily go to bed at night, she was up several times during the night, and she sometimes wanted to start her day at 4:30. And then because of all of that, her naps were starting early, or the times varied every single day. And when we put her in the crib to nap, they didn't really last very long, so her crib naps were really short. And Addison was becoming more and more irritable about the whole thing. And she was no longer nearly as chill when we were out and about. If we were going to a restaurant or going to a friend's house, she just wasn't as chill as she once was, probably because she wasn't getting good quality sleep. And to add to it, it was during this period where we then welcomed a second baby into our family just to add to the chaos. So, planning outings with friends started to actually feel really stressful. And so, we were doing less. And traveling, which is something else we love to do, was not only stressful, but starting to become really exhausting because sleep became even less controllable once we were out of our home environment. All of this left me feeling like I was trapped at home more than ever, way more than we had planned. So, despite our best laid plans, it felt like just like that, the go with the flow freedom that I had envisioned before becoming a parent had completely vanished. Sleep deprivation and not having consistency in my life did not bring out the best in me. I was not the patient parent that I had envisioned being. And while going to work in some ways was my escape from the unpredictable nap days that happened at home, I was exhausted. And I definitely didn't feel like I was bringing my best to work either, which is another place I really love to thrive. And so one day in a sleep deprived state, I saw a friend of mine posting on a sleep consultant's Facebook, and I immediately purchased a package. I filled out that intake form, and a few days later, I received a sleep plan that she had written. So we had not talked, but I had given a lot of detail in this plan or in this intake form. And then she sent me this plan, and I was quite taken aback by her guidelines, by how strict I was told Addison's schedule needed to be in order for her to sleep well. And despite the fact that I was in such a low state and I knew that what we were doing wasn't working, I was still resistant to the idea of having to be locked into a schedule. Because if I'm being honest, I can be a little bit stubborn sometimes. And this was early in my parenting journey. I hadn't yet come to the realization that there were going to be many things that I would have to do a 180 on, that I really needed to shift to reserve the right to change my mind. At that moment in my life, I was still not there. So I was digging my heels in. In fact, I didn't even implement the plan that she gave me right away, despite how desperate I was. But then, as we headed into the holiday season, because this was shortly before the holidays, which is part of the reason I didn't implement it. We had upcoming gatherings that we wanted to attend, and we were planning to travel over the holidays. So I just kind of pushed it off as maybe this isn't right for me right now. And then during our trip back to the Midwest over Christmas, that's when I really hit my rock bottom. I share this story in more detail in episode 29, so I won't go into it here. But I came home from that trip knowing I needed to follow up with that sleep consultant and I needed to implement her plan, even if I didn't like it, because I needed to accept that she knew more than me, she knew better than me in this situation, and I at least needed to give it a try before I could say it wasn't for me, because something had to change. And here's the thing about me. I am coachable in the sense that when I decide, okay, I'm in it, I want to learn something, I want to do something, I'm all in. So when I did decide to take action, I implemented that sleep plan to the T, including leaving work early for 2 weeks to get Addison in bed at a really early bedtime to help her overcome her sleep debt. And it was really challenging. I had a lot of moments of frustration and doubt during that time, but 11 days later, which now sounds like no time at all, but if any of you have done this, you know when you're in it, every day feels like a long day. 11 days after starting this transition of getting Addison onto a really consistent schedule and teaching her healthy sleep habits, Addison was sleeping 11 and a half hours at night, and she was taking an awesome nap that consistently started at the same time each day. And we actually had to change her down from taking 2 to 1 nap during this process. And so I was shocked. I was shocked by the fact that we had tried for nearly 2 years to read books and teach her how to sleep and nothing was working. And then it was this really structured approach and schedule that changed everything for her. I couldn't even believe it. But you better believe I quickly put Ainsley on a consistent 3 nap schedule around that time because she was still at the age to be on 3 naps. And I quickly transitioned away from being a little willy-nilly with her, which she's more naturally inclined to sleep. And I already had her sleeping through the night at that point. but I was being a little loosey-goosey with the naps with her, which I could get away with her. She's a little more flexible, but I quickly put her onto a schedule as well because I thought, wow, if this child can thrive and be her best little self, even my laid back child is probably going to thrive and be even better off with a consistent schedule. So I quickly put her on a schedule as well. And we functioned like completely different people at that point. I think what Mike and I came to realize in the months that followed this transition was that we had so much more freedom when we were living by this consistent sleep schedule than we ever did when we were trying to just go with the flow and take things in stride. Because now we knew when our girls were going to nap. We knew that we wanted to be home during those times for the most part, to have them take naps at home. And we knew when we wanted to be home in the evening to make sure they got to bed on time to set them up for good days the following day. And all of this really allowed us to confidently make plans during the day and in the evening. And I'm not going to lie, we definitely became those people who would leave a lunchtime barbecue or leave somewhere to get home for a nap or leave something in the evening to get our kids home. Addison even more so than Ainsley because she really needed a very structured schedule. But we became those people. But it was so nice to be able to make plans around their naps and to know when we were going to leave and to go to everything with a plan and knowing that the next day Addison would have slept well and that we would all be in a much better mood and be in better spirits during her wakeful time and Ainsley's wakeful time. And this just made everything much more enjoyable for all of us. We started going out to restaurants again and taking her to our friends' houses and to the park and to signing up for different classes. And we got back to doing lots of travel as well. And wow, did travel look so different than it did when I think back to that one Christmas or what we did really for those first 2 years. And so we would plan trips around sleep. And that may not sound great, but it made our trips so much better. I think the big transition that we had was realizing that predictability is freedom. Figuring out how to help Addison get the sleep she needed not only improved her temperament, but it also improved mine. I was a better and happier parent. She was a well-rested and happier child. And that provided another level of predictability that also felt like freedom. And as crazy as it sounds, committing to a sleep schedule for your child can just be incredibly freeing. So if your baby is older than 4 months and you're feeling like your days and nights are really unpredictable, I just want to encourage you to be open to committing to a consistent nap schedule, meaning you have consistent time for nap 1, you have a consistent start time for nap 2, a consistent start time for nap 3, or however many naps your baby's on. Getting to a consistent schedule around naps and then also finding a bedtime that best aligns with your child's circadian rhythm and committing to that for a period of time and try it on, see how it fits for your family. All right, there you have it. There are my feelings about nap schedules and sleep schedules in general and how they can actually result in you feeling like you have more freedom. I would love to hear how you felt about consistent sleep schedules before having a baby versus after having a baby or multiple children. So hop on over to Instagram and leave a comment on the post about this episode or shoot me a DM. It's at Sleep and Wellness Coach. And if you're interested in connecting with me to talk about an ideal schedule for your child, you can always visit sleepandwellnesscoach.com and check out the Work With Me page. Thanks for joining me again today. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to How Long Till Bedtime. To learn how we can work together to improve your child's sleep, please visit sleepandwellnesscoach.com.